Welcome back, everybody. So this week, one of the big projects we're going to have is to get some progress done on this Twilight Zone cabinet. I'm very happy with the job of spraying it last week. It looks great in my estimation. Everything is nice and shiny. You can see there's lots of crud on top of there. The only parts that I care about are this part and that part. The sides, I didn't even mask those off because, again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand those down. It's going to flatten out, leave any, basically take care of any imperfections in that. I like to do that typically before I put decals on because it leaves you with that ultra smooth surface. As far as the inside goes, I step sanded everything originally down to 400, but as you can see, there's some overspray on everything. I'm going to go ahead and hit that again with a 400 grit disc before I do anything on the inside. Now, I used to spray the inside with HVLP as well, but the problem is I have preferences nowadays, and I like the way I like to do things a certain way, and I guess it's just a personal preference thing. I don't like the inside being glossy. I like the inside being flat. Here's a good example right here on the back box for this Twilight Zone as well. You can see the outside was sprayed with an HVLP gun, and then the inside is flat. Now, don't judge me. I use rattle can on the inside, and I just love the look of it. I love that there's a slightly different color of black between the two, and I guess it really bothers me when this part is super glossy and shiny. That was always something on previous projects before I started doing this that I was just like, I don't really like that. So, by the way, back box is already done. Screen printed the warning decal on the back. I'm extremely happy with that. So what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to hit it with 400, and then I'm going to go ahead and start spraying the inside to get that nice and flat on the inside before I put the decals on. Since we're talking about the Twilight Zone playfield or project as well, the playfield has been done for a while. This thing was kind of trashed when I got it, but I've also done several of these. I think this is my third or fourth one. I think it's the third one, to be honest. But I always, this has 450 bricks in it. It's very, very tedious. I redid this entire thing as well. It's very, 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 very tedious. But I'm very happy with the result. I think it's the best one I've ever done. I just actually, yesterday, I saw a playfield and cabinet that I did, and my friend just did the rest, and it seems he did just a spectacular job. So that's inspired me to go ahead and hit the gas on this thing. Before I go on, I just wanted to explain a couple steps that I took here. I went ahead and just masked everything off here. This is obviously the only part that matters because this is the part that anybody's going to see. The paper that I put over here and where the power cord goes, that's just, again, reducing chances that I'm going to get any overspray on the part that I'm absolutely happy with. So what I did was I hit this whole area with 600 grit sandpaper. And then to finish it off, I used just a little piece of 600 grit sandpaper here. I found a pack of, I think it's 60 to 3,000 sandpaper for like $10 on Amazon that are just these little rectangles. Great deal. It's very, very useful for what I'm doing. So the next step, I'm going to go to the vacuum cleaner and vacuum everything off. Then I'm going to use the tack cloth to get any remaining specks of dust that may still be in there. So here's what we have after spraying it the first time, at least. This is probably the only time I'll have to spray it with this stuff. Unfortunately, the Rust-Oleum can that I have, the spray tip must be a little different or something because this stuff is just globbing it on. Usually you can kind of just feather it in there, but not this time. So the good news is I have it on its side anyway, so I'm not going to have any drips this way because everything, if there is, I guess, if I sprayed more than I meant to on this, that's fine. It'll just pool up and create a super smooth side for me. So what I'm going to do is let this completely dry before I flip it over and do the other side. This is very glossy at this point, but and it's kind of deceiving because it will flatten out as time goes on. Give it a few hours and it'll be super flat. So here's what we ended up with the matte black on the inside. It looks pretty good in my opinion. Great thing about matte black is typically you aren't gonna really have noticeable lines. From being a rattle can, it is pretty uniform, or it looks pretty uniform. So the next step, I'm going to go ahead and take all the tape off and all that stuff. I think I am done having everything masked off. It'll be interesting to see what's under the tape and all that, because it's been like that for a long time. So so after that, I'm going to go ahead and sand the sides and get it prepped for side art. I went ahead and sanded everything, the sides and the front rather, and again, I basically used what I would consider a junk coat. I don't think there's any technical terms for half the things I say here, but junk coat just meaning that it's something I'm gonna sand through anyways. This thing is smooth as a chalkboard. I'm gonna wipe this thing off a couple times so I don't end up with any dust, but basically I'm gonna put the decals right over this. I have got as smooth of a surface as you can get. You can see right here, it went through that coat a little bit. It doesn't matter. This is completely flat. You'll never be able to notice that. So the only problem that I had was the front, and this is my own fault. I was kind of scooting this thing along around on the top here when I was working on the back, and I knew that was going to happen. I knew it was going to cost me a little bit of extra work, but it was convenient, and this thing was on the floor for a long time. I got a couple gouges in here. I'm probably just going to go ahead and take care of that with a couple small primer coats, and that is it. So this thing is ready for decals. Just about ready for decals. As soon as I finish this thing, that will be the next step. So I guess look forward to next week. I will definitely be putting the decals on this thing, and I think I'm getting the ground braid in as well. So I'm going to be wiring a new ground braid in here and putting the decals on. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and clean this off and take off all the tape and get this thing prepped and ready.